There was a native man named Edem who had a very beautiful daughter who every man in the country wanted to marry on account of her beauty, but she refused all offers of marriage in spite of repeated entreaties from her parents. She was very vain. She said she will only marry the best looking man in the country, who would have to be young and strong and capable of loving her properly. Most of the men her parents wanted her to marry, although they were rich, were old and ugly. So the girl continued to disobey her parents, at which they were very much grieved. There was a skull who lived in the spirit land who heard of the beauty of this beautiful virgin and had thought he would like to possess her. So he went about among his friends, borrowing different parts of the body from them, all of the best. From one he got a good head, another lent him a body, a third gave him strong arms, and a fourth lent him a fine pair of legs. At last he was complete, and was a very perfect specimen of manhood. So he left the spirit land and went to the market, where he saw this beautiful girl and admired her very much. About this time, the native man's beautiful daughter, whose name was Afiong, heard that a very fine man had been seen in the market. The man, as they said, was better looking than any of the natives in the whole town. As soon as Afiong heard this, she fled to the market immediately. Upon her arrival, she saw the skull in his borrowed beauty. She immediately fell in love with him and invited him over to her house. The skull was delighted and followed her home. Upon his arrival, he was introduced by the girl to her parents, which he immediately asked for her hand in marriage. At first they refused, for it is not their wish for their daughter to marry a complete stranger. But at last, they gave in to their daughter's demands. The skull lived for 2 days with Afiong in her parents' house, after which he demanded it was time to take her back to his land. Afiong readily agreed, but her parents were skeptical. At the break of dawn, their journey began. Few days after their departure, her father consulted his oracle, who by casting lots discovered his daughter's husband belongs to the land of the dead and will surely be killed. The father mourned the demise of his daughter. After walking for several days, Afiong and the skull crossed the border between the land of the living and the land of the dead. And immediately they stepped foot in the land of the dead, one man came to the skull and demanded for his legs, and another his head, and the next the body. It went on until the skull was left by itself in its natural state of ugliness. At the sight of this, Afiong became frightened and wanted returning home, but the skull would not allow this. He ordered her to go home with him. Upon their arrival, they found his mother, who was a very old-looking woman, quite incapable of doing any work, but would only creep about. Afiong tried her best to help her. She cooked, fetched her water, and brought her firewood. The old creature was grateful for this attention. She became fond of Afiong. One day, the old woman told Afiong her days were numbered in the land of the dead, for it was only a matter of time before her life would be taken away. No one has ever shown me this kind of kindness, she said, and I can only repay you with twice as much. She then promised to protect Afiong for the time being and send her back to the land of the living, but only if she promised to heed her parents' words. Upon hearing this, Afiong readily consented. The old woman then sent for a spider, who was a very clever hairdresser, and made him dress Afiong's hair in the latest fashion. She presented her with diamonds and gold in regards of her kindness and other things. She then cast a spell and called upon the winds to convey Afiong back to the land of the living. At first, a violent tornado came with thunder, lightning, and rain, but the skull's mother sent him away as unsuitable. The next wind was a gentle breeze, The old woman bid Afiong farewell and commanded the breeze to take her back to the land of the living. Afiong was brought home. Upon arrival, her parents rejoiced, for they had thought her dead for months. The father laid animal skin on the ground from where his daughter was standing, so her feet will not be soiled. The father organized a feast for 7 days and 7 nights in celebration of his daughter's arrival. And when the feast was over, a new law was passed to always consult the oracle before any marriage is being granted. Afiong will later marry a native, and they will live for many years with children to bear their names. The moral of the story is to be obedient, but in all things be kind in whatever you do, for it will surely come back to you.